Hello and welcome to this episode number 65 of the Game Plan podcast by College Baseball Advisors. On the Game Plan, we talk things all related to baseball, high school, college, minor league, and pro baseball. Our guests are typically college coaches, but we've also had a variety of other people on as well, and we discuss everything related to coaching development, player development, parenting, the recruiting process, characteristics that make, successful coaches and baseball players. I'm your host, Wayne Mazzoni. My background is 30 years as a college baseball coach. I'm currently a college baseball recruiting advisor. For more information about what I do, please visit my website, collegebaseballadvisor.com. On this episode, we had Matt Midkiff, who is the head baseball coach at Swarthmore College. Really an awesome conversation talking about Matt's growing up in Florida, really being a baseball only kid, having no idea about the recruiting process. Going from Southern Florida for 2 years, he went to Morehead State. Finally, went to Wilkes College in Pennsylvania, where he found just the right fit all around for him. He then started coaching there as a grad assistant. Then went to junior college in Texas for a year. Came back as an assistant at Swarthmore for a couple of years before he took over the program at Eastern and really built up a struggling program. And then took over at Swarthmore about 13 years ago. I think he's entering his 14th season now. So we cover everything about not only his background, but of course, life at a university like Swarthmore that has under an 8% acceptance rate, the admissions process, the recruiting process, player development, what life means, for kids that are athletes and students at Swarthmore. It was a really great conversation and very eye-opening. I'd like to also mention that this podcast is sponsored by the Mohegan Sun World Baseball Coaches Convention, which is taking place coming up quickly now, January 15th to 17th, 2026 at the Mohegan Sun Casino. If you go to baseballcoachesclinic.com, you'll see now the full list of presenters, the schedule for the day, a list of the vendors that'll be there. For those of you that have actually been to the event, you know how awesome it is. If you have not, this is a great opportunity to get your baseball juices flowing, really learn a lot, see cool baseball products. There's a demo cage, there's a demo infield, there's great breakout rooms. It's just really an awesome, awesome event. So please check them out at baseballcoachesclinic.com. The last thing I would like to mention is the passing of Coach 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞. Kevin and I have known each other for 20 plus years, a very well-known person in the Connecticut baseball scene, coached at many different levels, travel team, the Connecticut Blue Jays, coached at Bridgeport, Yale, Fairfield, and for the last probably 10 years now was baseball coach with other duties at Salisbury School, and he passed suddenly in his sleep about a week ago. It's hit me hard. It's hit people that are really close to him very hard. Just an awesome person, awesome family, easy to like, great guy, great coach. And I just wanted to dedicate this podcast to Kevin. And with that in mind, without further delay, let's go to our talk with Matt Midkiff, a head baseball coach at Swarthmore College. All right, Matt. Well, we were chatting before I hit the record button about just being able to lock in and talk baseball and not be distracted by the million things that come up in life, and not to mention, of course, the holidays, which always adds to you know a lot of stuff. Of course, my wife constantly reminds me how much she does for the holidays and how little I do, but that might be standard at everybody's house.
I rely a lot on Santa. I think Santa does a lot for us. So
That's great. So as I always do for these, I do my research, which is, not complicated, but I want to prep for stuff. And I guess when I first looked up, I did not realize, knowing you pretty well, that you were a Florida guy. So you were born and raised in Florida?
yeah, one of the few, right? Everybody goes south, and
Exactly,
I ended
right.
up going the other direction. But yeah, I was, my dad was in the Air Force, um, and so he was stationed down there originally from Virginia. I was stationed down there, and met my mom, who was originally from Kentucky. And so they, made a home there, and I was raised just outside of Tampa, and really had a great upbringing. Obviously, baseball was something that it's kind of funny. Neither one of my parents were really they liked sports, but neither one of them played much. So I, started playing baseball, and that's the only thing I ever played. Never played a game of soccer or organized basketball or anything in my life, but it was baseball from the get-go. And I guess this is how it turns out when you do that, right?
So a couple of questions. So I did have to go to maps and put in the town. Florida's huge. It's got
Hmm.
a million towns. So yes, I did see it's outside Tampa. I have a buddy from high school. I grew up in Long Island who lives down in that area too. I've only seen it, in the last few years. What was your we'll talk baseball in a second. What was it like growing up down in that area? What is it, a rural area at the time? Was it so just describe the environment of your where you grew up.
Yeah, it's a suburb of Tampa. Um, there's kind of the new Tampa area where the hockey players and the football players live, and then my town, Brandon, is just I would say a middle class, lower middle class neighborhood growing up. But both my parents worked in Tampa, so they would drive to the city. At that time, nobody lived in Tampa. Everybody
Right.
just went in to work and then and came back. And as you're saying, um, every time we go back to visit, it is completely different. I mean, there's more and more and more people and stuff and roads that I don't didn't know existed. So I feel really blessed to grow up in the time period I did because you know 80s, 90s, no better time I think to grow up
Yeah.
than that. And just only child, which has its pluses and minuses.
Right.
So it was fantastic. I really loved it. Two great parents, just an awesome place to grow up, friends, neighbors, that you just that you hope to have. And it was a really I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Are they still down there now?
Yeah, my parents still live in the same house I grew up in. So we will be packing up the car after Christmas and driving down to see them. And then my father-in-law lives in Naples, so
Nice.
we'll make that part of the trip as well. So it's a lot of driving. We may get into this, but at one point I had to get a CDL when I first started my coaching career to drive a bus.
Yep.
So I feel like it comes in handy on family vacations.
Do you so you guys, I mean, I guess you're further south. Like I'm actually going to Florida to my family on Friday, but we're flying. Is the driving just makes it logistically easier, just all pile in and go?
It does. Plus, we have a new dog, the new 1 year old yellow lab puppy. So she's gonna make the trip. Ruby Sue will make her trip to Florida, her first time down there.
Awesome.
So yeah, so we we uh we enjoy it. I think just it's like kind of captured in the car together, and all get a chance to be together for a long time. Could do without the driving piece, but I enjoy being in the car with them.
Yeah, it's funny well, I don't want to sidetrack us on the drive, but to me, driving without traffic is just beautiful. Like it's just freeing, it's relaxing, etc. It's just when you get caught up in traffic, it just starts to stink.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. It could be 10 or 14 hours. You're not sure which one it's going to be, but and we've had some of those trips as well. So yeah, but just as you know in this business, the time away from family is frequent. So when you get a chance to all be together, I think it's really important to take advantage of that.
And no question. The second thing, you might be the first on this, Matt. You might be the first baseball only guy growing up. Like you're telling me, you literally did no other sports ever. You just wow. I mean,
Never.
was that a product of loved baseball, not the opportunity? I mean, do you look back on that and go, well, that's kind of weird I mean, listen, it's much more prevalent now,
Sure.
but most of the people that I, get on here played whether it was formal or informal. So did you even play informal like football with buddies in a field
Yeah,
somewhere?
we
Oh yeah.
we played in the yard. I mean, I have a flag football championship in eighth grade with some of my friends that I have memories of that. There used to be this program before flag football was that big, but the NFL would go to the NFL cities and do this thing called Air It Out. And I
Mm,
don't know if they still do it or not, but they sort of put you in, you sign up with friends and you go play this, a day of a tournament in
yep.
flag football. And me and some of my buddies who weren't football players went out and we won, we won this our division or whatever in this
Cool.
thing. So I tend to believe that baseball players can pick up other sports easier than other athletes can pick up baseball.
Great point.
Not that I was a superior athlete, but I was all right. Um, I could catch a ball, I could throw a ball, and football's, that's kind of what you do. So
Yeah.
we're able to do that. But I mean, growing up, everybody's always outside doing something,
Yeah.
right? So it might be kick the can, it might be, tag, it might be laser tag, that whatever we were doing, we were out there. And as an only child, just searching for anyone who's around your age to play anything. We were, I was always out trying to do something, riding bikes or whatever. So, and I think that I think the funny part of this is that now kids don't have the time
Yeah.
because of how much baseball they play, and even if they play another sport, everything is there's just so much time devoted to it. Where even as a kid growing up in Florida, I had a ton of free time. I
Yeah.
wasn't always playing baseball.
Right.
I loved it and I was doing it seriously, but I had time to go swim and ride my bike and do kid stuff. So I think that is kind of a shame
I
for
agree.
these kids. Um, but it's just I guess it's just a product of the times. But yeah, I remember with there was fall ball one year. I don't know. I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, and the football complex was right next to our little league baseball complex. So I
Yeah.
said to my dad, I want to play football. He's like, okay, well let's go. They're practicing right now. Let's go watch. So we go and sit down, and it's like handoff, boom, fall down,
Yeah.
handoff, boom, fall down.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, you know what, I think I'm good. Let's go back to the baseball field. So that was really it. And they, I played and again, I think at that time it wasn't like overplaying because we didn't overdo it. There wasn't the travel stuff and doing all that. So yeah, it was always my true love. So, I'm a disaster in noon hoops, just knowing what to do. I'm not terrible. It's just they're like, yeah, that's not the pick you set there. That's not where you go. That's not so I have to kind of be coached in some of those other things.
There's a lot of funny things you said in there. First of all, one is that you're right. Baseball's much harder to pick up than other sports, just based on how skill oriented that it is, right? I mean, probably the most famous story, Michael Jordan, who's arguably the best athlete, and he was pretty good at baseball, but right, just because you're the best in the world at something, it doesn't always translate. Baseball is, really hard on that. Number two is, boy, I have a lot of kids that I work with in a recruiting front that are so busy and kind of stressed out between the academics, between the tutoring and the SAT prep and volunteering for all. It's like, my God, there's just too much scheduled time, and that's the world that we live in. But I'm like, I don't remember being stressed out growing up, like, you know what I mean, at all. Certainly from that. Um, and then, oh, you just mentioned the last thing that I wanted to comment on, which I forgot. Was it the football or back to the baseball? I forget what it was. Maybe I'll remember that in a second. But back to what I wanted to ask you was, when did you realize in your baseball career, hey, I'm good enough slash want to play college baseball?
Yeah, it's so different, I think, now than it was back when I was growing up. Um, I just was hoping to make the high school team, played on a really good high school team with, the guys in front. So when I was in Little League, the team above us won the Senior League World Series. So they, we're going through this and they're winning, they're beating, Venezuela and they win this whole thing. And so just like Williamsport, but for the older kids, um, it was I was like, man, these guys are really good, right? And then some of those guys ended up, playing pro ball. One of them was a college quarterback who's an NFL coach right now.
Wow.
So these guys were pretty good athletes, pretty good players. Um, and so I was just like, man, I really would love to make the high school team. This would be great. And so, I was able to do that. That was great. Um, and all I wanted to do was be good in that game
Right.
or at that time. I really did. I just wanted to play well for my high school because I had such pride. I loved my high school coach. And he was hard, he was tough, but man, it was great. But I walk in, it's funny because I walk in as a sophomore. It was a weird setup that we had until my sophomore year was high school for us was 10 through 12. we had a middle school that was 8 and 9, and then a sixth grade center and a seventh grade center. So it was kind of a mess. But I walk in, and the starting shortstop for us is a guy named Sean Figgins, who played in the big leagues for a long time, was probably the best athlete I've been around.
Hmm.
He played basketball too. He was not a one sport guy.
Right.
He was really athletic. I think he went in the fifth round or something. Um, but just watching him and being able to be not to his level, but being able to be close enough to where he could say, "Do this," and I would be like, "Okay." He's like, "Hey, if you want to play at a high level, you need to feel a slow roll with two hands." So what did I do? I just wanted to, feel a slow roll with two hands, and then I ended up going to a Florida State camp. A lot of our teammates went one summer. I think it was my sophomore year, and I hit my first home run ever. I'd never hit a home run over the fence in my life. I did that at Florida State camp.
Yeah.
Mike Martin Jr. was the umpire on the field, and so he was like, he said, "Oh, great, great job." And so I'm like, "Oh man, like this is so cool." Florida State was like my dream school to go to
Right.
Florida. And then I pitched on the stadium field, and 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 calls me over and is like starts talking to me, and then Coach Martin talked to me when I was taking BP. He asked about Sean a lot, about Sean Figgins, but that's okay. But he was great, and so I started getting these letters from Florida State, and they were just the stock letters
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
stuff. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right,
That's pretty
right.
neat. And then I had some teammates because we were very good. I had some teammates that were talking to other schools and things, and so that's sort of when I was like, all right, I'm okay enough. And then I ended up getting contacted. Coach McNichol at South Florida contacted me, and we started talking, and I was like, this is great. So he came to watch me pitch and offered me, and I had no idea about the process. My parents didn't go to college. I didn't know what this was about. I was like, that's okay. Yeah, I'll do it. So looking back on it, obviously there's things that I would have loved to have known about the process, but that's kind of how it went. And then, did well in high school at very high level. Again, against this guy I pitch against, that guy's getting drafted, that guy's getting drafted, that guy's getting drafted.
Right.
So, again, playing at a high level really helped me understand that I guess that I could do it, against these guys, and then other people started noticing. And again, the way I would have gone about my recruiting process, had I even known I should have a recruiting process, is probably different. But it was a different time, and so that's how it worked out. But yeah, it was never my intention to play. I didn't. I mean, I wanted to, but I almost didn't even think about playing in college until somebody said like, "Hey, you can play in college."
So, it is true I remember back in my high school years, like really when you were in high school, you weren't thinking about playing your sport in college. Like maybe later as it got closer to the end, but it just was really a different time. And I guess since the process has changed so much, it probably has come down to the internet, like because it got more organized and more structured and it's completely, changed, which we'll get to in a little bit. Do you remember this though, from what you said? Do you have any idea to this day how the coach at South Florida found out about you? Did he know your high school coach? Was he at the Florida State camp? Do you have any idea how that even connection came about?
I honestly don't.
Interesting.
I'm guessing, just my name was in the paper for being pretty good,
Right.
for for winning games on the mound, or playing shortstop or whatever. And I guess if they were doing their homework, they would say, well, these are the top programs. We're gonna
Right.
see who the best players are. Funny enough, my high school coach ended up taking the job as he was an ops guy at USF, and he was there for a long time after I graduated. It was only a couple of years after I graduated. He went to USF as doing baseball ops through a few different coaches, ops and volunteer, kind of bounced back and forth.
Yep.
But he was there for a long time. So I'm guessing, now that I think back on it, he probably had some connections there, just from, again, all the players that he'd had before that were really good that USF might have been recruiting.
Is he still in the college game?
He's not anymore, but he's still somebody that, you know, I I credit to putting me in this position because he knew how hard to be on his guys, and again it was hard, but it was respectful. It was what you needed.
Right.
It wasn't abusive. It wasn't anything like that. It was exactly what you needed to be a high level team and a high level player, and it was great, and I couldn't ask for more from Coach Paris.
And then how long, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't stay at USF your whole career, correct?
Right, yeah, I was there for 2 years, and then had some. It was kind of, I'd say, playing time, but more of just it. It wasn't a great fit for myself and sort of the players there. Like it just wasn't a good fit for me. And
Right.
again, that goes back to not doing my due
Exactly.
diligence.
Right. Right.
I really liked the guy that recruited me, Russ McNichol, who was at USF at the time. Great guy, great person. We still are in contact. And it just wasn't a great fit. I also, frankly, didn't perform the way I was hoping. And so I was there for 2 years. And first year I pitched a little bit. Second year I didn't pitch really that much at all. And so, you know, being someone that kind of defined myself as a baseball player, that was devastating for me.
Right.
And so I looked to, where else am I going to go? I was during the summer, I was in the ACBL. I was playing summer ball, but I'm trying to navigate this recruiting or this transfer process, which wasn't as easy as it is now.
No.
Um, and so you got one freebie back then uh, when we were kind of in that spot, I'm looking, and Tampa was an option. I was kind of interested in going to the University of Tampa. That'd been great. That sort of fell through, and then I ended up going to Coach McNichol. Sort of helped me go to Morehead State University for 1 year, and I got hurt there, and so I had an injury, and I said, you know what, this place kind of isn't for me either. And so it's like twice. Yeah, I really didn't do my due diligence. So it was kind of a weird situation. The next year I was kind of going up to play summer ball again, and I said, well, I wonder what some of these northern schools have to offer. I need to go to a Division III or Division II school. So I reached out to the coach at Wilkes University, Coach Folick, and he said, "Yeah, come on in, and we'll meet." And I go there, and the whole coaching staff is there, and I remember this. I said, I'd love to play a position again. I was a infielder in high school, and now I'm just pitching, but I love to do both. And he looked at me and said, "Hey man, this ain't Florida State. If you if you can do it, you can do
Right.
it." So
Right.
it was great, and those guys were awesome. The coaching staff at Wilkes was fantastic. Just it was like I kind of lost my love for baseball at that point, just because it was I just felt like this is never going to happen for me, and I'm sure
Right.
a lot of kids go through that. I just can't. I'm not playing. I'm not having fun. This isn't great. And those guys made it fun for me, and we had a great couple of years there as a team, and I got a chance to play position and hit and pitch too, and it was so cool to have that. And then I was able to start my coaching career as a grad assistant coach there, and much like a lot of the programs used to be, Coach Folick was a teacher, so he didn't get there at the start of practice, and he said, "Hey, make the practice plan. You get them going, and all that." And so, forever indebted to him for just giving me that opportunity, and for the guys I played with who understood that I really wanted to be a coach.
Mm.
And so these guys who were my friends last year were calling me coach, um, just out of respect for me, and I thought that was awesome. And so I really am appreciative of that opportunity, and I don't know what opportunities I would have had I not had these struggles, with my playing career and ended up at Wilkes.
So a lot of cool stuff in there. So first of all, I mean, basically since then, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been a Pennsylvania guy since then for the most part, right?
Yeah, 1 year, my first real job where they gave me insurance was in Texas at a junior college. I was at Frank Phillips College in the Panhandle of Texas for 1 year. And just as like a side note, I probably applied to 40 baseball jobs at that time, and I got one call back, and it was a junior college in Texas, and so I was there for a year with Coach Simmons, and he was a great guy, and he let me do a lot as well. Um, I realized junior college is probably not my deal.
Right.
And fortunately, I had an opportunity to come back to Pennsylvania and work at an indoor facility. And then shortly after, the assistant job at Swarthmore opened up, which I think paid like 5 grand or something. And I was like, "Yep, I'm in. I need to be here." So I found out about the school. I had no idea about it. Had no idea about the high academic world or anything like that. But that's sort of how I got to that place.
So there's a lot there we gotta get in on because that's cool. So first of all, do you even remember how you found Wilkes? Because what year was it that you transferred to Wilkes?
So, my first 2 years at South Florida were 2000, 2001, and then I was at Moorhead in 2002. So then I talked to Montclair State, a couple other schools, and I thought, Division III is probably, more of academically, has a little bit more of what I'm looking for. And so it was Wilkes, it was Kings, and it was Montclair State. And then I just really hit it off with the guys at Wilkes. I thought it was, you know, they were just my kind of guys. So
So it's almost like if the process went the way it should have, which for many it doesn't, you can't beat yourself up. You would have gone to a school like that right from the get-go, probably, right? Yeah. Maybe you've
yeah,
been a two-way guy, probably more the environment you liked, right? So
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting.
I look back and I say probably either a D3, a Patriot League, potentially, a service academy. I could take orders. I'm cool with that,
Right,
but I'm
right.
married, so I know how to do that pretty well. But no, I mean, I look back and think, oh, it would have been neat to know about these other opportunities that I didn't really know about. And kids in Florida when I was growing up, I didn't know there was Division III. I didn't know there's no Division III baseball.
No.
So you're either really good and you go to Florida, Florida State, Miami, or you're okay and you could go to USF or FIU or FAU. And then the other guys will go to, Florida Southern, or some potential draft pick guys can go to Tampa. That's kind of a niche. And so, like, just this mindset of what's available, that has completely changed. And I think kids are very much aware of different opportunities that they have. So that's one of the parts that I love about where everything's gone, is that there's access for these kids to go to a different place and actually have an opportunity to play, and not say, well, if I can't play at LSU, then I guess I can't play.
Right. Yeah, but I think a lot of people don't realize, and maybe it's changed since back when you grow up, but there to me is no Florida school playing college baseball that's anything other than nasty. Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's a D2 in Florida. They can't. Are you kidding? How good is Nova and Tampa and Lynn and all? They're ridiculous baseball
unbelievable. Yeah.
programs. Yeah, all of them. Um, do you remember at all having grown up in Florida and then started there do you remember being thrown off by the weather at the beginning of your transfer to Wilkes? Did you care, not care?
It was I still to this day when snow falls, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. So, it's just I think it's kind of magical when it
It
snows.
is actually. It is.
Obviously when you're a baseball coach, you think warmer is better, and typically it is. But yeah, it was a different experience. Uh, but I look back on it and think I was way warmer playing than I am coaching during
Very,
games.
that's very true. Yes,
Right. So I
very
didn't
true.
really think as much about the temperature when I was on the field, but in the dugout, it can get, we've had a few that I thought, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah, no, I've been on both sides myself, but I also do remember in '92, my first year coaching was at Nova Southeastern in Florida, and I remember basically a month into it going, I can't coach here; it's too hot. Like I can't set up and as we know, no place is perfect. Certain times of year, there's no better place than Florida, but certain times of year, it's just too darn hot down there. It really is. It's amazing to me they have preseason football like in August at high schools and colleges down. I don't know how they do it. I guess early in the morning or later in the night, but
Oh, I remember our first, conditioning session, and we're running. gassers. It must have been like late August or whatever, and we're running 100-yard shuttles and stuff, and guys are puking all over the place, and you're just like, oh baby, this is no fun.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that is one thing that I've learned when I go back to Florida is I'm like, man, this is pretty oppressive. But obviously when you're in it, you're just kind of used to it.
You're
But
just used to it. Yeah.
it is yeah, I do enjoy the seasons. I think the fall up here is just
It
incredible.
is. It
It's
is.
so nice. You can walk outside and it's a little brisk, but it's nice. I'm glad to have this experience, and I don't even hate shoveling snow because I got away, without having to do it for a long time as a kid. So I'm okay with it. I shoveled yesterday. It's all good.
Yeah, and it's not for our areas. It's not like we're pounded constantly with snow. I mean, you will get some, and some years are more than others. But I mean, if it was something you had to do every day, it would get boring or it'd get miserable, you know. But back to you with the coaching piece. When did you realize that you did want to be a coach for a living? Was it during your playing days? Was it when you graduated? What do you remember when you first said, "Hey, this is something I want to do"?
Yeah, I started doing some youth camps when I was in high school, working camps, and I really enjoyed that. Um, I felt like I got a really good baseball education growing up, and the guys that were the coaches that I had just taught me really high level stuff, and maybe not in the classroom as much, but definitely on the baseball field, I was able to think about those things and really have kind of a thought on almost all parts of the game.
Hmm,
And I think some guys, they fall in love with the pitching side, and the pitching is a whole, it's an animal on its own. Or guys love hitting and they love talking swings and all that. I just had like a bigger picture. I liked all of it. I liked
interesting.
knowing, and to this day, I would say I don't know. I'm not the best hitting guy or the best infield guy or the best, but I know enough, I think, to fill in and if one of my assistants isn't there, I can pop right in and do that, or just kind of have a conversation with every kid on my team about the thing they might be going through with their swing or with their defense or whatever it happens to be. So I just liked it all, and I tried to absorb as much as I could, and then especially about how to play the game. What are the little nuances that if you sit next to a baseball lifer, and he'll bring up this little thing about, oh, did you ever think about this? And you go, wow, I never thought about that,
Right, right.
Those are the things that I love, that those are just like the insights that could help one kid in 10 years, but you have it for them, or help you win one game that you really need to win. Those are the things I love about it is nobody ever knows it all.
No.
And there's not one way to do it. If there was, then we'd all be doing it that way.
Right,
But
right.
when you go listen to guys talk, they all have different perspectives, and I think that's really neat. And I think everybody's philosophies, everybody's programming, the way everybody does their business is based on a little bit of things they've heard along the way, and that they tweak and make their own. And I think that's a really cool thing. And then eventually somebody's is going to be better than the other guys, and then you adjust and go from there. So I just always had a love for learning about it, and I just the competition piece. I don't know that I would get the same from selling insurance.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, you hit your quarterly goal. Like that's just not the same for me. It's just going out there, and then I love watching people achieve their dreams and their goals, man. It's so cool. There's nothing better than watching a kid who didn't get it
Yeah.
and come up with that big hit or that big play. Um, hey, coach, I made that adjustment and look what happened. Like that's just I think it's great. My wife's a teacher, and I think she gets to see those things in the classroom where kids just get it in a light bulb moment. Man, I just love that when our players, finally, after a year or 2 years even, get something. It's just a really fulfilling thing. So that's kind of where like it was just always something I wanted to do, and helping people and coaching baseball is like the perfect thing because I love the sport.
And it is interesting because most people that I've spoken with, certainly for me as well, I was on the former side where like I feel like I'm more of a pitcher hitter guy, but not a full team guy. And the guys like you that like you said, you know the full game. They're actually more rare, I feel like. The guys that know they could pop in and teach anything on the field. Like I never could do that. If you put me with a shortstop, I'd hyperventilate. Like, and where everyone goes on a double cut, like no idea. You know what I mean? So that is interesting that that's something even from an early age you gravitated to or realized you had a skill set for is like that big picture, which is good, which is probably what makes you a really good head coach is your ability to do that. I didn't know the two things that you said, so I didn't realize. So you was it a year you were at Wilkes as a GA?
Yeah, I was there for a year, and then I got the job at Frank Phillips. So
Okay, so
yeah,
basically you had a year at Wilkes, and then you have a year in Texas,
yep.
right? Which I mean, that must be an interesting. Just it must be interesting. First of all, totally different. Even though Texas and Florida, we lump them in together, they're probably extremely different. Number one,
Yeah.
the JUCO thing is interesting. It's a great route for many kids. The thing that I don't think I'd like about it, which strikes me was you maybe didn't like about it, is everyone's just kind of coming or going there, right? Like it's not a 4-year family, it's a coming and going kind of place. And the people, the coaches that are good with dealing with that, they're very valuable people to be able to live in that environment.
Oh yeah, I think, you have to be able to have quick relationships, but there is a transactional piece that has to be understood that, hey, my goal is to get out of here, right?
Right. Right.
And so I think that's a tough thing for the JUCO coaches probably, but like you said, they handle it really well, and then talk about guys that have the best interests of the kids. They're really trying to get those kids to where they want to be, and
Yes.
they're
Yes.
so I really appreciated that. Coach Simmons at Frank Phillips was just such a good person. I talked to him too still, and he gave me that opportunity, which I'm really grateful for. Uh, I I like academia. I like the learning process
Right.
too. I like that our guys are students first. And again, we're talking about extremes, right? Because you look at the junior college landscape, obviously you're taking core courses and you're taking some of your basic things to get on to go to major courses where our guys are really all in and they've already figured out what they're going to do,
Right.
10 years down the line. So you're just in different places, and I'll tell you this: I never threw more BP than I did at JUCO. It was like every single day. The rules are a little different, so it's just like every single day is hundreds and hundreds of pitches, and some of them were strikes too, which is great. But yeah, I mean it definitely is a different type of situation, but I think that's good for people to figure out, and whether they're going in the recruiting process, a job, whatever it happens to be, what are the things that I need to find out if I don't like it,
Yeah.
right? As much as if I do like it. So that was for me is I enjoyed the experience. It just wasn't what I felt like I was best suited for. So, I definitely decided to make a move there.
So obviously now the next move is now you take the assistant job at Swarthmore, where obviously you are now. I guess I'll ask you that. Did you, when you first were there as an assistant, like would have been in your wildest dreams you'd be back as the head coach there? Like you were probably still young in your coaching career, just happy to have a gig that was right.
Yeah.
So it is funny how you've been back there now going on 13 plus years, but so now you're back here at Swarthmore, or at least. So then, what year was that? Was that in
That would have
2000?
been that would have been 7 and 8. I was there. 2007, 2008. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're in a totally different environment, probably than you've ever been in all your playing and coaching career. Now you're at the high end. First of all, just start with the academic spectrum. Was that instantly like it seems at this point, learning the recruiting and the workings of that kind of a college is harder than, hey, I can coach these guys in the field. You probably had that easy. That was probably easier for you at that stage of your life than going, how do I figure out this environment here?
Yeah. How do I find the 1550 SAT who who can also hit a ball at least 300 feet,
Right, right.
Yeah. So that part was really eye-opening to me when I met these guys. They were definitely different than the guys I had previously coached. But it was it was really it was just really cool to see that type of person existed. Like you hear about these people that are just, you know, so advanced academically, mentally, whatever it is. And, sometimes we don't ever interact with them. Well, I get to
Right.
interact with these guys every day. And it's really cool, to have some of these conversations. And what I realized is I don't have to be a tough guy. I don't have to, raise my voice. I just have a conversation with them because they're just as mature, if not more, than I am.
Right.
So we just talk about it and they'll ask a lot of questions. They want, it's very different again than probably you and I grew up with. You didn't ask the coach a question.
Right. No.
It's like you're doing this and okay, I'm doing that.
Yep.
And so that was a different part for me too, is hey, you have to be prepared for these guys because you can't just make up a drill on the fly, like, oh, we're going to do this. Well, why are we doing that? How's
Right.
it going to make us better? How's it going to help us win? Those are the questions that, and again, they're taught to ask those questions in the classroom.
Right.
That's the culture. Hey, you should, you need to ask the person that's presenting what's going on. So that was a change for sure. But I got along with them really well, and they just it was just a really good match for me. Those type of kids that I just thought it was like this is a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, and I really want to unpack Swarthmore, but I still want to talk about Eastern, where you got your first head coaching job before, because then Swarthmore is what I certainly want to get into. Now you do go to Eastern after a couple years at Swarthmore, you get the head coaching job now. Um, was that a learning curve in terms of what it is to be a head coach from an assistant?
Yeah, yeah. It's just like yeah, it's everything you always wanted, and then you're like, oh boy, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Right,
And so every assistant thinks they're ready, right? And then when you get the job, it's like, oh baby, okay, here we go, right? And so that was what was great about it is, you know, I got a job for a team that was not very good, and that's so much easier, I think, than walking into a program that's already, established and doing really well. I think it's way, especially if it's your first head
yes,
coaching
makes
job.
sense. Yes,
But what was great is I had two guys. I had Mike Santello, who's the recruiting coordinator at UPenn right now,
right,
and Dave Lorber, who's the head coach at Montclair State. Those were my assistant coaches. It was their first job. And so we were learning on the fly. Little did we know that we had, three guys who would make careers out of it, and those guys have done, far better than I. So I'm really, really proud of them. But we were sort of learning on the fly about how to do it, because again, the recruiting I just done at Swarthmore was way different than Eastern.
right, right, right.
So those guys, they took charge of that, and they did an awesome job. And we won 3 games our first year. We won 21 our second
Mm,
year. So that was incredible that we were able to do that. Looking back on it, I probably would have been a different person at the time. And one mistake I think that we make as coaches is we kind of get our value as a person through our record,
fair.
right? And so, I tried my hardest, but man, I probably should have handled things a little bit differently at that time. Just the way, the appreciation that I probably should have shown for that first group of kids that we had that, were getting their their butts kicked all the
Right,
time.
right.
And it, wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault that they were getting their butts kicked. So, but you learn and you grow and you try to be better and I think we were. And by year 3 and 4, things were in a pretty good spot. And then other opportunities will present themselves.
Well, I'm thinking of a couple of funny things besides, Mike, who's at Penn, is Lorber, who not only coached for you, but then Montclair State was on your short list of schools that you were possibly going to go to and transfer. And then last year, here you are as a head coach at Swarthmore, coaching a game at Montclair State where
Right.
Lorber's the head coach. A lot of your worlds colliding on that series, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and Mike and Dave and I have a group chat that we're always in, and it's a lot of fun. And it's just Dave and I lived together when he was my assistant, and so it's just like Oh, like just weird stuff, but it's a lot of fun, and I think, if you're in this business long enough, you do make a lot of good friends, and it's a weird setup, and you probably agree with this, is the guys who are you're closest with are the guys you're trying to beat, and you see them all over the place, and it's just an interesting setup, but there's a lot of good people in our game, and I think that I think parents should understand that there are a lot of coaches that really do see the value in mentoring and just helping these kids become better men, better people for society. And I think we're in a good spot with coaches.
I agree totally. And you're right. Yeah, you do want to beat these guys, but they're also, it's a fraternity and they're the only other guys that know what you're going through, right? So so much in common. Obviously, now you have the opportunity to go back to Swarthmore. By now, you've been a head coach. You have coached for a while. You had coached there previously. Was that, in your mind, a no-brainer to go back and take this job when it came open?
Yeah, it's really the only job I applied for from Eastern. I was
Mm,
there, and I was friendly with the AD, and then the job came open, and I said, "Hey, I want this job," and he's like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have to interview for it, and you're gonna have to get it." And so it's definitely an advantage having been there and understanding the type of kids and the recruiting process and all those things. And I surprisingly, I guess I don't know if I expected to get it. I wanted it, so I
yep.
figured I probably wouldn't get it. But it turned out that it was just it was a good fit, and that's what I told the committee. I said, this is the only other job that I would apply for. Like I'm happy where I am, but Swarthmore is a place where I feel like we can win a national championship, and I want to try to do that. So yeah, that was such a nice surprise, and um, you know, I'd recently been married, and so it was just a great thing for our family, a little more security on the financial front and all those
Right,
good
right.
things, which is helpful. So yeah, it was definitely a blessing, and here we are.
So perfect time for me to ask you this now. Obviously, I know Swarthmore. Many people know Swarthmore, but there are some that don't. Cool part of this podcast, I got people from all over the place that watch it and may not know it that well. So just from an academic institutional thing, can you talk about the university?
Yeah, so Swarthmore is founded in 1864, a Quaker institution, and one of the top academic schools in the country. Acceptance rates under 8%. Uh, we're a liberal arts school, but we have engineering as well. We really prepare our students to go to all the best med school, law school, business school, anywhere they want to go, they're prepared to do that. So we have the top school, we send our engineering students would be MIT, business, we're talking Penn, Wharton School. So all those kinds of places, our students, they thrive and they're prepared to go do those things. We have guys in the front office of major league teams. We have doctors. We have a lot of lawyers. One of our guys just graduated from Harvard Law.
Hmm.
So really, you're talking, one of the elite institutions in the country and in the world. And so that's where it's really cool that to see some of the things that these guys do. They're smashing particles and they're doing all these things that I don't even understand. I appreciate them trying to tell me what they're doing, but I don't really understand it. But yeah, just great kids who really have drive not only on the field but in the classroom, and it's a beautiful campus, and we're just outside of Philadelphia, and you wouldn't know that Philadelphia is anywhere near our
Right.
campus, but there's a train that'll take you right there, so it's a really good setup. We're like 10 minutes from the airport, but a beautiful campus. It's a working arboretum.
Wow.
So one fun fact is more people actually visit for the Arboretum than they do for the college. It's
Wow.
a lot of people coming to see the plants and trees and flowers that are gorgeous. So it's a great place to go to school. Great facilities, great opportunity to strive for championships on the field, but also win a Nobel Prize or go do something just incredible academically.
Enrollment is about what?
We're just under 2,000 students, so really small. But we have a TriCo with Haverford and Bryn Mawr, so students can take classes there, and students can also at times take classes at UPenn as well.
Okay. All right. Now, kind of give us an overview of the baseball program specific, in just in terms of in your time there, things that you're, happy about, some bragging things about the program.
Sure, yeah. So we're in the Centennial Conference, and it's one of the top conferences in Division III, with schools like Johns Hopkins, Dickinson, Franklin and Marshall, Muhlenberg, Haverford. Some of those I'm not supposed to say the names of those schools, but for you, Wayne, I'll say
Thank
it.
you. Thank
Uh,
you.
but yeah, the last few years we've had some pretty good success. 2018 was kind of our capstone year. We won the conference and won a regional and went to the College World Series. Finished sixth in the country. Um, 2020 we were on our way, I think, to doing some pretty special things. So we missed 20 and 21,
Yeah.
and then we kind of had a little bit of a rebuild. We were able to win the conference in 2022, but it kind of set us back. The COVID thing sort of set us back because we're a true four-year institution.
Yes.
So
Yes.
our guys were graduating and moving on to. We sent several to Division I programs to play, but the last few years, I think we've been kind of trending back in the right direction. We had a 24 and 18 record last year, second in the conference, with a strength of schedule in the top 10. So we played a lot of really good teams, and we're really young right now. So I feel like we're rebuilding. We're getting really close to where we were. It takes some time at a school like ours. Can't go into the portal. We can't start
Yeah.
grabbing guys like that. So we're just kind of rebuilding, redeveloping. But I feel really good about where we are as a program right now. The recruiting class that the guys will find out they get in tomorrow, I guess. We feel really good about that class as well. And we're looking for guys who love academics but love baseball as well. And we have a lot of just amazing kids in our program, and really all we want to do is have a chance to present what we have to recruits out there, and we think they're going to like what they see.
So really great job talking about the school and the programs. Really well done. A couple of recruiting questions is with the university being that selective, incredibly selective, one of the top institutions. I mean, under 8% acceptance rate. I mean, I'm guessing in your time, you've had kids get denied from Swarthmore that have gotten in an Ivy League school. I'm sure that has happened. Yes, right. So we're
Yeah,
talking, yeah, right. You're at the level.
yeah,
It's an Ivy League education, of course, in terms of difficulty of getting in, right?
totally, yeah. And I think in any of this, as I know you advise people, is you're going to go through the coach, and the coach is going to sort of talk to you about how their program and how things work with their admissions office. And for us, we have a great relationship with admissions. We have pre-read opportunities that we can initiate. So we can really tell, and I've been doing it for a long time, so I can look at a transcript,
Yes,
look at some
exactly.
scores, and say, okay, this is a student that's really, close for us. I think a mistake that families make, and it's kind of unfortunate, is they get to the end and realize the student could have handled a harder workload, but
Right.
now they don't have those courses that could get them into a school like ours or some of the other high academic schools. So those are things that I know you're advising with students and families is you got to get it on the academic side early. The baseball part sometimes comes a little later, but you can't go back and take those classes
No.
from freshman year that you missed out on.
Yeah, no, there's no question. If the goal is to get into a school like yours, you have to take a challenging course load. There's no other way to say it, right? I mean, simply, and it's a great point. Yes, you cannot go back and take extra APs when you've already passed, through that. Whereas, yes, you can throw harder and hit harder eventually,
Mhm.
but it's a different process. The big question I wanted to ask you about recruiting is because your pool is very small in terms of who has the talent, who has the grades, obviously you have to open up to a bigger geographic area, right? So you might get kids from all parts of the country. How do you go about initially identifying that somebody is a candidate in both areas? Is it the kids reach out to you directly? Do you have certain events that you go to? That's what I'm always fascinated by, because if we start off with the whole population of high school kids that want to play college baseball, now it goes down to who can have the chance to get into a Swarthmore. And then, of course, you have to unpack, are they good enough? Is it the kind of kid you want? It's going to fit your culture, et
Right.
cetera. But what's the ways that you and your staff might say, hey, these are the places we'll spend time, or how do we go about finding, I'm assuming you don't just walk into Diamond Nation and go, oh, I'll go look at that team over. It's a waste of your time. You need information ahead of time. So could you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. The number of high school games I've been to as a head coach at Swarthmore is probably less than on one hand.
All right.
And again, it's just because like you said, we're getting kids from all over. We're going to have kids from California and Texas and Minnesota and Boston, up the Boston area and all those things. So we're all over the place. And so basically the best way to do it is an academic showcase. Most of the times that we're going to identify someone would be at one of these pre-qualified events. So we know that the student athletes are going there for an academic school, and we're going there for academic players. So we're
Right.
putting ourselves in the right spot. The number of kids I think that play on travel teams that don't put them, especially academic kids, that don't put them in front of academic schools is mind-boggling.
Me too. Yeah, mind-boggling.
And so I think that's a part that it's sort of as much as you want to be a team player, when it comes to the academic world, you kind of have to be a little bit selfish in putting yourself at some of these events that where the coaches are going to be the type of coaches that you're looking for. And so we'll go there. We'll go to Ivy camps. So that a lot of the Ivy schools will bring us in because it's a great crossover. It makes a
Perfect.
ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
And then we do have kids reach out, and we're always soliciting information from someone like you, someone who's advising kids. Hey, who fits our profile? And I know you're doing the same thing with the kids and families you're working with. Hey, this is a type of school that you should look into. And it's funny because I always make the joke that I know nobody has a Swarthmore poster on their wall and that's their dream when they're a kid, right? It's like, oh, I can't wait to go play
Right.
high academic D3 ball. Like that's
Right.
that's my goal. But as we talked about, you want to find what that fit is. What is it that makes the most sense for you? And I could go I could go work on Wall Street and I can chase a championship and get everything I want out of baseball. And heck, if I'm really good, somebody will take a chance on me. I might be able
Right.
to sign a free agent contract. I might be able to, have an opportunity to play overseas if I want to play more baseball. So I think as we go through our recruiting, we're just trying to show what that fit would look like for people. And I think a lot of families are waking up to, Power Four sounds amazing, but there's a tough part of that. There's a lot of looking over your shoulder. There's a lot of, you know, am I gonna play? Am I gonna be on the roster? What's my timeline look like? When they cut me loose, do I have anywhere to go? There's so
Right.
many worries. Whereas if you come to a program like ours, we're invested in you for 4 years. We want to make you the best you can be. And we understand that you have these academic pursuits that you want to go after, and we're supportive of that fully. So as we're looking for kids, we're looking for those kids that can handle that difficult rigor in the classroom. But guess what? I need you to come down and get me 4 hits too, buddy.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of that, and so we do a lot more with who the person is than what they can do.
Yeah. No, and I know from dealing with you, and you sent you sent me a few things about what you need out of kids in terms of admissions and like the process they have to go through. And my eyes were like glazing over, and I'm like, wow, it's that. Listen, that'll separate you right there. If you don't want to do that rigorous work just to even do a pre-read sometimes or an application, then you'll weed yourself out. But I think, and you made a great point. You're right. Kids don't grow up and have, those types of schools on their wall. But I think as they get older, they start to realize how insanely awesome it is to go to a Swarthmore, get an education like that at that environment, and be able to play high level baseball. You kind of have the best of everything for sure. There's no question about it. Um, In terms of a coaching thing, I've coached at a number of places. I would say in my whole career, probably only coached 10 to 15 kids that would be Swarthmore type grades, high-end kids. A decent amount of them have a tough time getting out of their heads when they play, right? There's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of figuring out. They're thinking about themselves and mechanics, etc., instead of just like, dude, go kick that guy's ass over there. Like, is that part of what you have to instill in these guys? Is a little bit of like, there is a time to turn off your brain and just compete. Is that something you deal with?
All the time. All the time, Wayne. Yeah. No, these guys are thinkers, and it's what makes them great is that they can think the game at another level, but then they have to play it at another level too. So we all the time talk about, not worrying about the outcome of the situation. Don't worry about, it's just your process. Just make it process oriented. Make sure that because I mean, they want the A, right? They're always shooting for the A. They're used to
Right.
getting the A. Well, it's hard to get A's in baseball.
Big time.
So yeah, I mean, it's what we do, and that's why again the problems that I'm going to have with players are going to be different from somebody that might coach at a junior college or a D2 school or a power four school. It's just a different approach, a different thing, and a different type of kid. And so we are, as a staff, we're used to working it through with these guys and talking it through. Some guys, after every bat, they have to come stand right next to me and they just have to tell me exactly what happened. And they're just going to talk and talk and talk. I'm going to let them finish. You good? Yeah, I'm good, coach. Boom.
Right.
Some guys, you might have to draw something out of them because they're so in their head that they're just a spinning and spinning. Hey man, like what do you think? What are you seeing? As long as you're swinging at the right pitches, you're in good shape. Okay, coach, I got, so we have to figure out, it's a lot of psychology, a lot of just, who is that guy? What makes him tick? And most of the time, an arm around the shoulders, and a short conversation will get them where they need to be. And sometimes it's a little more than that, but we really want to keep them, in the moment. Look, you're going to be a CEO someday. That's cool. But let's
Right.
let, let's have a
Right.
great at bat right here and
Right.
enjoy that. Right? This is
Right.
the most fun you're ever going to have in your life. Being a CEO is only going to be fun when you can be on your boat. The other times it's going to be a headache.
Right.
So we talk a lot about trying to keep them less mature, whereas most
Great
coaches
point.
would
That's a
would
great
say
point.
like be a little more mature. So we kind of work in the opposite direction. But I love that part of it, and I love just being able to connect with them and the number of guys that later on in their lives will say, Coach, when I stopped caring, I got really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know, man. I know. That's how it works sometimes. But I mean, that's why we always say, like, some of those dumb guys are really good at baseball, man. They're just really good. And you guys you're just overthinking it. Go out there and play because you're really good too.
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen, I don't want to. There was a couple of major leaguers I was going to reference, but that would be unfair. But you're right. They didn't. They just came up, see ball, crush ball. Like, right? There's a lot of. I'm sure they worked their butts off. But all right, couple more questions. One is there's two ways I could ask this, but I think maybe the easiest way is, if you play baseball at LSU, I'm assuming between baseball, academics, and other social, etc. Baseball at LSU is going to be probably 80% of your time, meaning the lifts, the practices, all the stuff you're doing, especially of course in season. I don't know if that's accurate. I'm just throwing that number out there.
Sure.
Division III, of course, because of by nature, the non-traditional season is shorter. The traditional season in terms of games and all the different things. Could you put a percentage, the kids that play baseball at Swarthmore, what percent of their experience is time in baseball? 40%, 50%? Is there a way you could judge that?
Yeah, it's as you were asking it, I was trying to think through. They spend what I'll say, I think what they do is they cut out any of the waste, right? Because
Right.
even at LSU, they're playing Madden, right? They're
Right, of
playing Call
course,
of
yes.
Duty. They're
Right.
doing so. I think our guys do a better job of cutting out the waste, and they just stay really focused on everything. So I'm not saying they're going to be an 80% baseball, but it's not. I mean, Friday night from 8 to 11, they'll be in the field house hitting. You
Right.
know, that almost becomes their release and their extracurricular. Not that they don't have a social life too, but I think there's a lot of their social life blends in with, like, they need to get out there and hit, and they
Mm.
need to do it's just their therapy. Guys will come down between classes and hit. And I think or they'll study some, take a break, come hit, come do their armored heat, come do their whatever, their J bands or whatever, just to like get get out of the academic set, get back into athletics, and then go back and do their studying. So, I mean, work ethic is something that our guys don't lack for. They
Yeah,
they
right, right.
love to work, and what I always see is, if they love something, if they're into it, if they're invested, they're going to do it 100%. That's just their personality. So they're not going to miss lifts. They're not going to miss the things that will make them better, because again, they want the A.
Yeah.
And the A is being on the field and being really good. And so those guys, they put a lot of time into it. I mean, I think you would add it up and it'd be over 100%. Right? Like
Right, right,
they're
right.
gonna spend so much time in all of those things doing, again, you could set your watch and be like, okay, it's this time. I know those seven guys are at this table in the library and they're studying this, and then at this time they're going to go do that. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
they're so meticulous with their time, and so, yeah, I mean, they spend a lot of time doing a lot of stuff. I just think that, yeah, they're really good, because what's funny is, and I think this has kind of been proven, but uh, in the off season, their grades are worse than they are in
right,
season,
right, right,
right? Because
right.
the time, and I have to get this done, whereas I don't have this soft ending of the week or whatever. So our guys are, I mean, they are totally invested in both. Again, not that they don't have fun, but I call it scheduled fun. Like, it's
Yeah.
probably on their Google Doc of, like, time to, time,
Right, right.
fun time,
Fun, yeah, yeah.
going to a movie or whatever, it's like, and so they're just different. Well, that way they're wired a little differently, but they are completely invested in all the stuff they do.
And this is perfect transition. You mentioned Armored Heat. I was going to ask you, what are there besides them? Are there other, Rapsodo, Trackman? Are there other things that you guys use as a program for development? Obviously, they're one. What other ones might it be?
Yeah, we've had the Rapsodo. We had that for a while. I kind of put it away because I thought it was getting to be a little bit too much of a piece. But the thing that I think's been really helpful for us is we got the Aware cameras, and Aware's, 6 cameras around the field, that every rep is on camera, and so the guys can go back and look at what they're doing video wise, whether the pitcher, hitter, position player. They can look at defensive stuff, and I think for that, and they can share that with the coaches, and it really starts dialogue, which is, to me, is really helpful, because, as you know, when you're coaching a pitcher and you say, hey, your elbow's dropping a little bit, they might not always believe you,
Right,
right?
right, right. Or
And
they
so,
can't, they can't understand unless they see it
unless
sometimes.
they see
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
once they see it, that starts the conversation, and then that leads to making the correction.
Right.
And so, being able for us to have that, and every inter squad, every time we're on the field, those guys, they have that cataloged. It's like, this is when you were really good. Let's go back and look at that.
Right. Right.
And so for us, that's kind of the development piece. I think our strength and conditioning coach is fantastic. Coach McPherson does a great job with our guys, and they're bought into it, and he puts the right lifts in front of them, and they do an awesome job of that from a development standpoint. And as you can kind of go through and look at the players that we've had in the development, but I mean, we've sent, again, 10, 11, 12, 13 guys to Division I programs, who have done well. And so I think, our development, and again, I think also the Division III level has risen and is really good
Completely.
baseball. So I think there's that part too. But our guys, again, we're bought into them for 4 years. We're not just going to take the 22-year-old every year and fill a spot. So for us, it is that development piece that we want. And I think, going back to the basics, strength and conditioning, arm care, Those kinds of things are really helpful, and I think that kind of wins the day, in my opinion.
Does the aware camera system, is it something that films, will it even film a regular practice like BP rounds and it'll film that and kids could look at their BP?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's pretty
it's
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great, and especially if you're able to tag each hitter, then the hitters go back, they can see their BP rounds,
right.
which is fantastic. So yeah, I mean it's that part has been really good, and then it doubles as for the live stream as well. So it really helps with families, and again, recruiting across the country. We have people that can't be there all the time, so families are going to want to watch, and so a high quality video is great for that as well.
Oh, that's cool. So that's called aware.
Yeah, AWRE. Yep.
AW. Okay. Last question then is, and I kind of always end the talks with this. Um, any advice that you might give? I always think people watching this are coaches at various levels, parents of players, and players themselves. So if my wheelhouse is a sophomore, junior, and high school kid that's like, I'd love to play at Swarthmore. I'd love to play college baseball, high academic school. Is there any like one or two things that you think that is important now? It could be sleep, it could be nutrition, it could be, athleticism, anything you could think of that's something that you would like to see these kids do?
Yeah, I'll give you one kind of physical is get physical. Be strong. The days of the 130-pound freshmen are kind of behind us. And so, we're now looking, and I think most coaches are in this boat. We're looking for guys that are going to come in and impact us immediately. And people aren't waiting for those 2 years for you to end up getting big and strong. So I would try to enhance my product before I put my product on display.
Hmm. Yeah.
So spend the money up front with getting big and strong and fast, and then go to the showcase. Maybe it may be a year later than you want to, but that's going to be a better showing for you. And then the second piece would be when you get to that showcase, have fun, but understand it's a job interview. And the number of kids that I see jogging onto a field or having bad body language at a showcase where they paid a lot of money and all their dream schools are sitting there, it's just off the charts. And it's hard to be a college athlete. It's hard to be a college baseball player. It's hard to manage all that. We need to know that you love it.
Hmm.
And if you can't make it through an 8-hour day on a field, one time, then you're not going to really fit in with what we're trying to do. And you're not going to be happy, we're not going to be happy. So that would be my biggest advice for the players. Um, I think parents, the big thing with them is just find somebody that you trust that can give you advice in this situation.
Yeah.
Because
Fair.
it's like when you buy a house and you go through this whole process, and then you get this house that you probably wouldn't have bought had you known all the things that you went
Right.
you know went through the process. You kind of get to the end and go, man, had we known this now, back then, we would have been in great shape. There are people out there like Wayne, other people that can help you, and don't listen to the chatter in the stands, because the parents don't know either. Like the other parents don't know. Find somebody that you can really trust. And coaches, I think the big thing I would say is just be yourself and coach who you are. I take my job seriously. I don't take myself seriously. So I love to have fun. I love to invest in people, invest in players. I'm going to be nice to the other coach. It's not his fault if I lose,
Right. Right.
those kinds
Right.
of
Right.
things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think those are that's my quick version of advice, and I don't know if I'm qualified to give it, but there it is.
No, that's really well said. And I'll add one thing. I'm not going to give this away, but I have like three or four things that I think are must to have happen at showcases that any one of my guys that go, I say these are the things you can do to stand out just besides the regular play.
Mhm.
So anyone that's listening, if you send me a message, I'll tell you what those are. But like to your point, I'd be like, dude, you signed up for this thing, and this is your effort. Like, and certainly we would when I was coaching. My last job is, probably at Sacred Heart, and a kid would come to camp, and like, first of all, he wouldn't even say his name properly. He could barely give a handshake. He would. It's like, Are you kidding, dude? And then you dress like a mess, or like mom's carrying your freaking bag. Like
Yep,
if your
yep.
mom's carrying your bag to the field, I'm crossing your name off. I mean, if you threw 96, I might uncross it. I might scratch it out, but like
We'd sign mom too
you
to
might
carry your
sign mom.
bag.
Yeah, right, exactly, exactly. But there are things, it's just some basic things, and you're right. Like, how could you be lazy on a field at an event where it's a job interview for 50 schools that are great? So no one said that before, and I couldn't echo it as much. You're right. You got to have fun. You're playing a sport, but my God, people are watching your every move, so you really need to be ready for it. But Matt, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope the trip to Florida goes nice and smooth with the dog and the whole deal. I know that with my dog. That's my only worry when I do a podcast, is my dog going to go berserk outside my office door.
Yeah, this one, she made it through her first podcast
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
clean. So
awesome.
we'll keep her around.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Wayne. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to episode 65 of the Game Plan Podcast by College Baseball Advisors. You can always find these podcasts on my website, collegebaseballadvisor.com, under the podcast tab. I also have a YouTube channel at Coach Maz. And then wherever you find your podcasts, if you search Game Plan or College Baseball Advisors, you'll find this podcast. We're again at episode number 65. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Matt Midkiff. Upcoming guests, we have Craig Hansen, head baseball coach at Dickinson College, and John Muller, head baseball coach at Union College, will be the next couple. Take a little break over Christmas and New Year, and then get going again with our group in January. Again, this podcast is sponsored by the World Baseball Coaches Convention that takes place at the Mohegan Sun Casino, January 15th to 17th, 2026. A great venue, great conference, great presenters, great people that attend, really awesome people in the audience, a lot of great baseball conversations that happen all over the event. And of course, the casino itself is a great venue. So for more information, please visit baseballcoachesclinic.com, and we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you.